What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coinbureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Solana, Sui, and Aptos. Of course, these are arguably the top three cryptos for this crypto bull market, and I'm sure you're all wondering what these cryptos are up to, what's going on, why are they crashing, are they going to pump, that kind of stuff. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, guys, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal crypto trading strategy, my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis, your strategy might be different. And honestly, guys, if it is, that's awesome. The more difference of opinion we have, the better traders, the better investors we're all going to become, as I like to say. So with that being said, let's dive into Solana. And of course, what's been going on with Solana. It's a combination of a couple things, guys. I honestly think that on the one hand, of course, Solana was really popular because of, all the stuff going on with meme coins on the chain. And this is, in my opinion, this is kind of migrated over to base with this AI agents hype. So I think a lot of that speculative capital and meme coins basically went over into the AI agents, and they're all playing around on base now. But the kind of good news in Solana's case is for those of you who don't know, Solana was basically the #1 chain for new developers in 2024, for new crypto developers, according to a recent Electric Capital report. We actually are doing a deep dive on that on the main channel. It's super interesting, and it foreshadows a scenario where you're going to see a lot more applications and exciting stuff coming out on Solana in the coming months, and I think that's going to bring a lot more attention, a lot more users back to Solana. And I do think actually that unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, I do think that there's probably going to be another like a little meme coin wave on Solana at some point. I don't know exactly when, but I would guess it'll probably be sometime in the first quarter of next year. But of course, that's what everyone is saying. And when everyone is saying something, it makes me a little bit nervous. With that being said, guys, we can turn over to the charts here. And what's interesting is I actually haven't really tweaked anything here since we last covered Solana. I think it was like 20 days ago or something. I haven't touched anything here. Everything is kind of the same. The only kind of thing that I tweaked was that I added a support level here, because you guys might remember back when we covered Solana last time, it was already trading around $240, I think. So I didn't really draw any like profit like loss or anything, because it was already approaching that $280 target. But of course, it actually failed to hold that level, and it fell even below the resistance. Now it's kind of shopping just beneath resistance. The lowest, I guess the first things first is I think the lowest that Solana could go in the short term here, just in, I don't know, the next week or two, the lowest Solana could go, I think, is around $165, which is not too far from where it is now. But just do keep that in mind, that based on just basic support and resistance, it's possible that Sol could fall there, maybe even wake a little bit lower. You guys always have to remember, especially with so many people going long, it's possible that prices will surprise to the downside, because think about it, when everyone's going long and then prices pull back just a little bit, then prices tend to fall a lot more than you'd expect. And that's kind of what we've seen, like especially with Sol over the last couple of weeks. And of course, guys, we're on the daily chart here in case that wasn't clear enough. But yeah, and everything else is kind of the same, with our handy target math. The start of that kind of like that rally that we saw, like I guess in the fall, the starting point there was around $120. The difference between the resistance of around $200, the difference there was $80. So we just take the difference and we add it to the resistance. That gives us a target of $280. And from the current price, you'd be looking at an upside of roughly 50%, which is not too shabby at all. That would be my base case. I do think that it's probably going to recover sooner than later. But on the off chance that it keeps falling, it could fall down to that support level. But I do think that $280 target is coming. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. And it's probably going to happen in the next couple of weeks. It is a little bit disappointing that didn't happen by the end of the year as I was initially anticipating. But at the time, especially when we consider how it was trading back then, it looked pretty clear like it was going to go hit that $280 target, but it never did. And honestly, guys, I'm kind of glad. This is kind of like, again, with my strategy, is when I see when a crypto's already rallied quite a bit and it had like almost hit that target, like it had hit like $265. I'm not going to be cheeky and think, oh yeah, I'm going to try and squeeze that that last bit of juice out of that move. There's really no point, and that's why I didn't draw that profit and loss before. But now with this pullback, for better or for worse, it's kind of presented an opportunity for those of you who have been considering getting into Solana, or for those of you who have been holding Solana for a while and you're wondering, is it going to keep going higher? I think that the answer is yes. And it's as close to this potential bottom as you're going to get, I think, realistically. Similar, it's like the opposite of like trying to squeeze the juice out of that and move to the upside. In this case, yeah, of course, it could fall another 10 or 20% or 10, 15% to the downside. But if you're talking about an upside of like from the current level of your talking an upside of like 50% versus a downside, of like 15%. That's like a five that's like a 5 to 1 like risk reward ratio. Like that's pretty solid. So the risks, again, as I've been saying the whole time, guys, the risks are to the upside. So I do think this is the case with Sol. So don't be surprised if, I guess, don't be surprised if it goes a little bit lower, but also don't be surprised that it goes a lot higher, a lot faster, because I do think that that's where the trend is still headed in the long term. And of course, guys, you might have noticed we were using Bybit there. The Coin Bureau deals page is up to $60,000 in rewards. We also have trading fee discounts on OKX, KuCoin, Blowfin, and Binance. Those trading fee discounts will help you out a lot. I know that from experience. Even if you're just trading with a few hundred or a few $1,000s, if you're trading frequently, those trading fee discounts will come in handy. It doesn't cost you a thing to take advantage of those discounts. So do check out the deals page using the link in the description. Just click that sign up now button on any of these exchanges that you prefer. Of course, do keep in mind that these exchanges aren't available to everyone depending on your location, unfortunately. But do take advantage of that. Just check it out. There's so many deals in there, guys, and they will help you out and doesn't cost a thing. These exchanges, these platforms, get a new user, you get a trading fee discount, and we get a cut of those fees, and that's kind of how the Coin Bureau makes its money. And the more that you know, and we have an honest business here, unlike other places. Not going to name names. Anyways, guys, so is coming over here to Sui. This is where things get very interesting, because on Solana's profile, I guess the thing that they're highlighting, the tweet that they pinned, is related to the developer activity. But in Sui's case, I find it very interesting that they pinned this base camp event that's not coming until May. Like, just think about that for a second. It's like, why would you promote something that's not going to happen in 6 months? In my mind, that must be because this base camp announcement there's probably going to be some really, really big announcements that are made there. The one that comes to mind for me is, you guys might know that Sui is working on a handheld device, like Solana has the phone. Sui has like a handheld gaming device. I suspect that they're probably going to announce that it's for sale. You guys might remember, actually, it's very interesting. If we go back in time, I believe that Solana's Breakpoint conference, which is in November, which was at the peak of the previous crypto bull market in 2021, at Solana's Breakpoint conference, it was a similar thing. They had like their huge conference. They were making all these announcements about the Solana phone and all this stuff. And it's fascinating that we're seeing history repeat. And it makes me, I guess, a little bit more confident in my prediction that I do think that the crypto bull market's probably going to top out somewhere in the middle of the year. I know a lot of people are expecting it to happen at the end of the year. But if we assume that, like Sui is following Solana one cycle behind in terms of market cap, not in terms of price, but market cap, and now Sui is having this this big event, that Solana had their big Breakpoint conference in 2021. It's very interesting how history repeats. So that's all I'm gonna say. But moving over to the Sui charts, guys, of course, in contrast to Solana, Sui has been holding up very strongly, and I guess the similarity is that I haven't really changed anything in this chart. I'm still eyeing that $6 target for Sui. Nothing's really changed. It's still above that resistance level, which is nice. It's possible, if we do see a market downturn, that Sui could break below that $4 level and fall all the way down to around $3, which would really suck. I think that'd be like a 25% correction, which would hurt. But at the same time, it's again, like the upsides, like the upside is just so much higher, even from the current level. Like, you're looking at like 25% to the downside potentially versus 50% to the upside. So it's still 2 to 1. And if we go even lower, then of course the upside there will be a 2x, right? And yeah, guys, like it's just looking good. And again, I guess just to go through the target math for those of you who didn't watch that previous video, the starting point of this most recent rally that we have here is, of course, somewhere around $2. The resistance level, like where it was kind of struggling and like chopping around, was around $4. And of course, that gives us a difference of $2. So we take the resistance, we add the difference, and that gives us a target of $6, which is, again, like that's still my target. I still think that's going to be hit in the coming weeks. Again, it sucks that it didn't happen by the end of the year as I had initially kind of forecasted, but like Sui's still looking really good. Like, okay, you're down, I don't know, what is it, 10% or maybe 15%. Like that's not too shabby, unless of course you're using lots of leverage, which I would never do personally. But for those of us who have been holding Sui, even just like from the start of November, from the mid-November, just over the last month, yeah, I'm sure most Sui holders are still in profit, which is good, and it's nice that not many people are selling into that. It's a little bit of a different story with Solana, which I think a lot of people who have held through the bear, they're really itchy, and they're taking profits around the $200 level because they're just scared that it's going to go back all the way back down to the teens, like how it did when FTX collapsed. Sorry for the ramble there, guys, but I do think that Sui is looking really strong, and I do think that $6 target is still intact, just like Solana's $280 target is still intact. And And that brings me over to Aptos. And this is where, like when I bring this up, especially to our Coin Bureau club members or even to my colleagues here at the Coin Bureau, they kind of like raise an eyebrow and they're a little bit skeptical. But I truly believe that Aptos is going to become the chain for USDT payments, at least in the United States. And I know that sounds crazy, but just based on my own research, I'm almost 100% convinced of that, and that's why I'm personally so bullish on Aptos. I hold Aptos, Sui, and Solana. Just by the way, guys, like I have no kind of bias here. Like I hold all three of them. Originally, I kind of held them all three in like equal proportions. Of course, Sui has rallied quite a bit, but I'm equally bullish on all three, especially at this stage. I would say that Sui and Aptos both have more upside potential in percentage terms than Solana at this stage in the cycle. But regardless, guys, like these three cryptos, I think is where it's at. And everyone's wondering, what's going on with Aptos, especially because it crashed so hard after the co-founder Mo Shaikh, he left, and there's like some rumors that he was kicked out and whatever, and it's like there's so many narratives there that like he allegedly dumped and like all this stuff, and honestly, guys, I don't buy that at all. It reminds me a lot of like the FUD that you would hear around cryptos in the previous cycle, just before they would go up like 50x. You know what I mean? And there were so many cases like that, and that's just all I remember when people. It's like a very mid-curve take, as Raoul Pal likes to say. But seriously, guys, like I do think that Aptos is going to become probably the ground zero for payments, and I do think that Solana is going to become ground zero for payments for PayPal's PYUSD. Again, like you could say that's just my personal opinion, but there's a reason why Aptos is reposting this kind of news. Okay, like they're constantly reposting stuff about Tether and how they're the cheapest chain for Tether and specifically for USDT. Like, come on, guys, like just think, why would Aptos be repeatedly saying like, yeah, like we're check us out, we're super cheap on USDT, like USDT, and you even go to Tether's transparency page where they like showcase the breakdown of USDT on different chains, and Aptos is up there. Like you got to, at some point, you just got to look at the data and say, okay, then maybe there's something to this theory. Anyway, I guess getting a little defensive there, I guess. But in all seriousness, guys, moving on to Aptos, the chart has been like, there's no denying it. Like, as bullish as I am, as bullish as that is, like that thesis is, Aptos's price is just not reflecting that right now. And I do think that this is, again, like stuff like Mo Shaikh leaving and all this FUD. I'd take that as a very big bottom signal, honestly. And of course, I do think that was the catalyst that kind of really pushed it. I wasn't expecting Aptos to fall below this $10 support, and it did. And I think that's just because of all that FUD around Mo Shaikh leaving and all that stuff, which is, it's unfortunate. But I do think that this is, and again, not financial advice, but if I was looking to get into Aptos, like I got over in the summer, like in these lows here, around I think I was around like $7 or something. So I'm still like slightly in profit. I honestly don't remember the exact amount, but regardless, if I was looking to get in or like itching to get in, like now's like on a risk reward basis. It's pretty good. Like, yeah, of course, Aptos could fall all the way back down to $8. That's always possible. It could retest that level. But like you're looking at what, like you're 10% from the bottom potentially. Is Aptos going to go lower? Maybe. That's always possible. But like on a percentage basis, like I was saying earlier with Solana, guys, it's like same like to the upside. Like most of that down move is over. Like look at this. Most of this, and of course, it's on the daily, but like most of this drop is done. Do you want to say, oh, it's, and then of course, when most of the drop is done, that's when everyone is saying, oh, it's going to go lower. It's going to go lower. It's like, no, like the most of it has already happened. Yeah, could it go lower? Of course, but most of it has already happened. So it's up to you as to whether you think that that risk reward is worth it. And, I think it was Warren Buffett or whoever, or Rothschild or one of these, like big investor guys that's, that said that, that you buy when the blood is in the streets. And when it comes to Aptos, the blood is everywhere. So that's what kind of makes me especially bullish, and yeah, like I haven't, it hasn't even occurred to me that I would like panic sell like Aptos or whatever. But of course, it's different for those of you who bought a little bit higher. But anyways, guys, nothing has changed here in terms of the target math. In terms of the targets, the starting point of this recent move was $8. The resistance is $14. The difference there is $6. So we basically take the resistance, we add the difference, and we get a price target of $20. Which from the current price is more than a 2x. And if you're looking at more than a 2x to the upside, 10% to the downside, like, come on, guys, like that's like a no-brainer, like risk reward. And especially when the whole broader crypto market is probably going to continue heading higher in the coming weeks. Like it's like, on a purely, like, forget about the percentage terms, on a purely risk reward basis of like compared to Solana, and Sui, Aptos has the highest risk reward at this stage, which sounds crazy, but that's literally the case. like at least based on this very simple technical analysis and everything, it's like a 20 to 1 or whatever, right? Like this, it's crazy. Like it's just really unfortunate that a lot of people are fighting it. I do think that that Aptos is going to do really well in 2025, and yeah, I'm excited for all three of these cryptos, to be honest. With that being said, that brings me very nicely to the Coin Bureau Club, which is of course where we cover small cap altcoins every single week. We do like deep dive videos, like the videos you find on the main channel where we're doing like deep dives into like large caps. We do the same thing for small caps. That's kind of how the Coin Bureau got big originally, and we wanted to find a way to bring that kind of content to our viewers without, like we don't want to affect the price of these cryptos. We want to be able to review like promising small caps without moving the price, and of course that's hard to do when you have a following of like 2.6 million people or whatever, right? So we try and like make it a little bit more exclusive, and that way that we can learn about interesting cryptos. You guys can learn about interesting cryptos. The way that we pick these cryptos is we basically run a poll every single week. These polls contain cryptos that we find during our research, that you guys find during your research, and we kind of take a look and we say, oh, does it look legit? And we add it to the poll. Everyone votes on it, including us. And then those are the cryptos we review every single week. We have a research feed where we're sharing insights about the crypto market. Like all this kind of analysis that I'm going to be sharing this alpha in a second. But all the alpha that I'm sharing with you guys at the end of these videos comes from the research feed, and we showcase our personal crypto portfolios as well as the cryptos we're considering buying. We also have an exclusive deals page where you can get nice discounts on crypto like analytics platforms, and we also have a members Discord where you can come speak with us and ask us questions, and like where I'm doing technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoins every single day. With all that being said, guys, so for today's alpha, if you did make it this far, this is something that's again like flown under the radar. Basically, the U.S. debt ceiling is probably going to be hit, according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. It's going to be hit between January 14th and January 23rd. And you might be wondering, okay, like why does this matter? Well, the last time the debt ceiling was hit, if memory serves, was back in 2023. And what basically had to happen was that the Treasury, which is kind of like the government's, I guess, like accounting department, you could say, they had to spend their like their bank account, basically. Like the U.S. government is like the treasury. It's called the Treasury General Account. And if you look in the Federal Reserve's website, you can see that it has like $800 billion of cash. And basically, when the debt ceiling is hit, then the Treasury general account, they're going to start spending that money into the economy. And the practical effect of that is that it's going to be basically stimulus, because typically the way that the government funds itself is it has to issue debt. And when the government issues debt, it kind of like sucks money out of the economy, because it's like people are buying that debt because they want to earn some interest rate or whatever. But when the government is unable to issue debt, then the only way they can fund themselves is by spending money from their bank account. And when they're spending money from their bank account, it's like they're just spending money into the economy without requiring anyone to buy the debt, which is like sucking money out, if that makes any sense. I know it's a little bit tricky, but in any case, yeah, this is potentially going to start happening here in the next couple of weeks. So if we do see a downturn in the crypto market, for the next couple of weeks, I do think that's probably going to stop sometime in January, in mid-January, maybe around Trump's inauguration, and then we'll start to see the crypto markets pick up again, especially with all the hype around Trump's positive crypto regulations and stuff like that. So I guess this is kind of like a tailwind here. And of course, we also have the FTX repayment starting on Friday. And like when you combine those two things, guys, like I really don't think that the crypto market is going to be headed too much lower from here. If it does, it'll just be for another week, and then by mid January we'll be rallying again because of FTX repayments, which is like a crypto specific factor. And then we have like the debt ceiling being hit and the Treasury general account being spent and less debt being issued, at least in the short term, and that's also going to juice the markets. So yeah, guys, like I see no reason to be bearish here. And of course, everyone's like thinking, oh my God, it's over, and all these expert technical analyst guys are saying that we're going to fall all the way back down to 80K or whatever, which of course is possible. It's possible. But that's not my base case, guys. I just don't think the environment is there for it. Like if it's not going to happen now, if it's not going to happen during the holidays when no one's paying attention and liquidity is low and like it's easy to push prices around, if it doesn't happen now, then I see no way. Like it doesn't make any sense to me how it could happen next week when it's a new year. All this money's coming in. People are rebalancing their portfolios, buying back in, saying, I'm not going to miss the crypto train this year, right? It makes no sense to me how it could start, like how that can happen next week. So it has to happen either this week or it's not going to happen at all, in my opinion. With all that being said, guys, if you did make it this far and if you did enjoy the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.